Hey guys, it's Carmen and Katie here with Click Group. We wanted to talk a little bit today about FHA loans. We're seeing those a lot more now that we're kind of shifting into a buyer's market. Sometimes people can be a little bit timid about FHA loans, but they're actually really great and there's a lot of benefits to them. So let's get into it. Katie?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the biggest benefits is especially if you're a first time home buyer, you probably don't have a ton of money saved up. And you can get an FHA loan and have a lower down payment option, as little as 3.5%. There may even be other options if you talk with your lender, especially if you are a first time home buyer. Sometimes there's classes you can take and things like that, and you can get a little bit more assistance on that down payment. One of the other things is the credit score requirements are definitely more flexible. Now you might pay some mortgage insurance, your rate might be a little bit higher, but with a lower credit score, that's typically the way to go is with an FHA. The other side of that too is you can potentially qualify with a higher debt to income ratio. Some of the loans, especially conventional, with having that higher down payment, sometimes you're going to be a little bit more limited on your debt to income ratio. So it's just a great tool to have. And then if you need some help too on your down payment, another option would be that you can use gifts to fund that. So can you talk a little bit more to that?
Yeah, that's actually an awesome option. A lot of people use it, either family members, close friends. There's some stipulations there. So if you have a question about how you can use gift funds, we can hook you up with one of our lenders. But it's really great. I actually bought my first house with an FHA loan, and my parents gifted me funds for the down payment. So I was able to make that a smooth transaction, and they were able to help me, and it was just great. So that's one cool thing about FHA loans that you can do.
We did the same thing. My mom was kind enough to help us out. We were young newlyweds, and our first house, we had an FHA loan, and she gifted us a good chunk of that down payment. So I think it's a really awesome tool to have. And I mentioned PMI before, and that's mortgage insurance is what that is. So it is going to be a little bit on top of your monthly payment, but sometimes it's worth it. So what I always do, even when I'm still purchasing my own property, I'll go and I'll talk to my lender about, show me different loan options. Show me what an FHA looks like. Even if I can qualify for a conventional and I have the funds to put down, it might make sense depending on the number of years I'm going to be there or whatever. So I just think it's really important to know some things about it, but also talk with the experts. Talk with your lender about what all of your options are.
Yeah. And one great thing about FHA loans is they are government-backed loans. So with that being said, FHA loans, like VA loans, do have some particular stipulations when you have an appraisal. There are certain things that they look out for, and they're actually there to protect you. So we're just going to go through a couple of the standard things that appraiser is looking for when you have an FHA loan.
Yeah, so even if I go on a listing appointment, I will walk the outside and the inside of the house with my sellers, and I'll point out some things that maybe an FHA or VA appraiser are going to notate. And the issue is if they do decide that those are a potential problem, like some peeling paint and a very old roof, wood rot, things like that, then they're going to require that those get fixed prior to closing. So when I'm meeting with my sellers, I like to go around and I like to say, hey, we don't want to eliminate any buyers. So let's go ahead and address some of these things on the front end so that they don't come up later. Does every agent do that with their sellers? No, but that's okay. You can still work your way through those things prior to closing, and it's really not a big deal. At the end of the day, we just had a deal where some VA appraiser noted some things that needed to be repaired, and we submitted all the documentation. He ran right back out there, and what did it take, a week? Mm-hmm. And it didn't delay anything. So some people think it's going to be a huge deal, and it's going to be harder for us to get a house, especially if there's multiple offers, things like that. Most of the time, it's really not going to go against you. I think it's important to know that. I think you just have to be really good at communicating up front and willing to work through some hiccups here and there, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I actually have some FHA buyers I'm working with right now, and they are looking at homes, and there was one that was in as-is condition, but there were a few things we identified that the FHA appraiser might flag. In this situation, if the seller didn't have the funds to repair it or they weren't willing to, we talked to the lender, and he said there was a way that we could possibly work it out within the loan to get the repairs done and make everybody happy and it close on time. So there's just a lot of flexibility here, and it's a great loan type. So like we said, if you're interested in buying your first home, or you're in a situation where you think you may not qualify, FHA could be great for you, and we can hook you up with a fantastic lender.
Yeah, for sure. Again, we're not experts on anything when it comes to mortgages. We've worked with a lot of different mortgage products, but it's super important to talk with lenders. So let us know.
Thanks. Bye.